Okay. So yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to Data to Production. And today we have Tarun from Cast 24. He's a data scientist. And so yeah, Tarun, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, so I'm Tarun Garg. I am currently working as a data scientist at Cars 24. I graduated from BITS Pilani in 2021. There I completed MSc Economics and BE Electrical and Electronics. It was a 5-year integrated course. During my college years, I started exploring data science, Python and machine learning stuff. Did a few college projects, summer internship, and finally I landed up my job at Cars 24. Let's see where the journey goes further.
Got it. Okay. So can you tell us about your first encounter with programming?
Yeah, so obviously there are different kind of people. I started programming during my school life itself when we were introduced to the information practices courses. From that time, I was very keen in the coding stuff and all. And during college, obviously many people want computer science. Similar was my case, but it definitely was due to my interest in coding. But again, the system, your marks, everything matters a lot. I couldn't really get a computer science degree, but again, it was my interest, so I did learn through online courses. I kept practicing, took multiple internships and projects, which helped me get a career in proper data science. So if I talk in terms of language wise, during college years I started with HTML, CSS. So that definitely helped me build a foundation for you can say website development and how to develop a graphic user interface. And during my college years, at that time, AI, you can say, started taking a boom. So that was definitely a passion. Python seems a more easy to learn language. And I started with Python, and while other of my peers were focusing more on the data structure and algorithm and preparing in C++, Java and all, I was strictly restricting myself to Python, and I was more of interested in specializing in that language. And with during my other courses and all, I got a grip over SQL also. And both Python and SQL tend to be a core languages for data science career. And during my economics courses, I got to explore R, which again is a great data visualization tool. And I did a few projects during my courses. That's how the programming career has been so far.
And since you mentioned that you were in BITS Pilani, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us about the on-campus opportunities you got there, internships, placements?
Yeah, so how it works in BITS plan is that I guess it's there in other colleges also. So many like the professors are working on the project, so they hire students to support them in their project. So similarly, we approached a few professors who were building products which had a overlap with machine learning stuff. So I got a opportunity with Professor Shantanu Datta in campus, who was a mechanical professor. So he was working on this pancreas endoscoping images. So there I got an opportunity to apply image processing and other ML algorithms on that system. And apart from that, post that project, I got another project under the same professor where they had done some simulation. And my objective was to train a model which could learn information from that simulated data and predict for the future cases if the similar inputs were provided in the model. So that were the couple of college projects I did.
Okay. And did you also get placed from college itself?
Not really, because I was interested purely in data science, and there were only a couple of data science opportunities in campus. So I did tried a lot of campus, and finally I did manage to get an offer from past.
Okay, so you got your first job off campus.
Yes, yeah.
Got it. And did you also, as you mentioned, like you uh, did a computer vision project, right, with images?
It
Did you?
was, you can say, basic image processing, not a computer vision. So
Okay.
the project, if I just give a brief idea that uh, the I it was a black and white images, and it was sort of a boundary forming images, but it was a not that clear image. So our objective is to identify that boundary and calculate the area. So I used basic KNN algorithms and try to uh, cluster the points and then form the convection over it. So that's how I did that project during that time. And obviously from this we got the area, and then we were provided with the angle, that at what angle that image is taken, and we used that angle to calculate the volume for that object.
Got it. And did you also work on some NLP projects later?
Yeah, NLP projects I did during my summer internship with 99 Room. So that was my first formal corporate work. So uh, at that time we were like, so we were provided with different kind of projects. Couple of them, we worked on couple of them. Both were related with NLP. So the first project was the hotel reviews parcel. So let me just brief about NLP first. So what NLP help is to analyze human text. So we have a variety of human text available everywhere. So since there's a lot of data, it's hard to analyze them manually. These ML algorithms help us to extract relevant information from the data. So we had this hotel reviews. So we had to extract that what are the positive and negative amenities for that hotel or for that property. So in this, first of all, we were provided with the third-party data, which have hotel ID and corresponding multiple reviews were provided. And we did basic pre-processing, which is the schematization, lemmatization, stopword removals, and other. And how we so here we required to annotate the data because we didn't really had any source of label data. So the objective here was to identify whether a particular keyword in a review is an amenity or not. So I'm not sure if others would have heard about NER tagger, to name entity recognition. So we want to extract an entity from the review. So we manually labeled a few data sets, few reviews, and that amenity was labeled as a feature and remaining words were labeled as others. We trained a Stanford NER tagger first on a sample data, and then we used that small model to predict on the further set of reviews. Then we corrected those reviews and retrained the model with the entire new data. This is how I worked, and definitely this was my first project. So according to that, I guess that I did really well during those times. Another project was for the Indian addresses parcel. So for other countries like US and all, the addresses are generally structured and there are a lot of parser which exist to extract all the amenities from this, like house number, street, locality, city, pin code. But there aren't any models as such for the Indian address. At least there were not any at the time when I did this project. So what we did is that we had Indian addresses data from other sources. So we manually tag those addresses like house number, locality, state. We manually categorize all them. We labeled the data, and again the similar procedure was followed for training. Like first we labeled a few data set, trained the model, predicted from it, and then retrained the model after correcting them. So this is the approach we followed there. For this one, we also developed a user interface. Again, because I was already proficient in HTML, CSS, so we used that to develop the front end, and the backend was hosted as a Flask API Python. So it was a, you can say, a user interface similar to Google, where we have a search engine, and there we can enter our address, and once we click the submit button, it will parse those addresses into all the categories and return in tabular, like house number, street, locality. They all will be returned in a tabular. So these were the couple of NLP projects I worked.
So how did you feel, doing your first, project in data science? How was that feeling of having that
Yeah,
achievement?
it was definitely great. And when you are, that was after my third year. So at that point, you are still deciding your career. That even the, at least in the software domain, one goes in proper software development, other is a data science, which are, you can say, two of the broader domains in the software field right now. So I was obviously interested in Python stuff and all, but I got a proper data science exposure through this. And this definitely, you can say, more strengthened my interest over data science, because again I was being able to work on the practical data, see how it is impacting, visualizing everything. So that enhanced my interest in data science.
Mhm. So did that help you? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Shant.
Continue.
So you said that you also did thesis from US, so that was the sort of like a distant from the US. So how did you manage to get that? And did your these projects in NLP, did that help you sort of land that opportunity in the US?
Yeah, the NLP projects to some extent, yes, because that was focused on NLP. But if we start from the beginning, how to get a thesis, so the common procedure which is followed is that to email the professors. So first, you need to email like, why you want to join their company, how join their college or organization, whatever it is, and then how you are being how you can relate to their works. That you can read their papers, summarize them, and you can provide suggestions to those papers, how you can help improve the results or any other feedback you have. And another thing definitely helps is their referrals, because if you can say you have college professors, they have contacts abroad also with other professors. So you can ask those professor to give the professor a word about you, that this candidate is so and so, and you can have a try on this candidate. And these are the basic thing. And another thing, the most important thing is that you should have an inclination towards research. Because when we talk about thesis versus corporate works or internships, they are pretty different. Thesis, you have to read a lot of research papers, you have to work extensively on the algorithms, and more often you can fail than getting a result. Whereas in corporate products, you are working on a smaller projects and you are definitely getting a result. Whether it might not be a 95%, even if 80%, but you are definitely getting a result. And that is more important in a corporate one. But research, you just want to optimize everything to the best possible level.
Mm-hmm. So
That's
research
the
is more like R&D, right? And then
Yeah.
you go to industry, that's more like applied, right?
Yeah.
So just two different parts of the world, right?
Mhm.
So that having that thesis or having that master's done, did you feel like you learned something by doing it, or was it worth it, or do you think like it would have been better if you instead ended up in industry early on?
So one thing which had been always a good thing for me, that the choices I have made in my career is after a lot of discussion with many people, after discussing all the pros and cons of each. So I never really regret taking a thesis. And I don't have any reason, because after my fourth year, I had a choice, either go for a corporate internship or for a research. So during our final year, we are allotted corporate internships from our college. So my CGPA was not very high, because for that you need a CGPA of around 9.5 to get a AI internship, a data science internship, because they were very limited at that. So I was pretty sure that I won't get a AI internship from my PS, and I managed to get a AI internship through thesis. So that definitely was a great step in my AI career. And even when I talk to my juniors now, I definitely suggest that if you can, at least do one of the semester as thesis, because it would give you a broader thinking style, that how you can think around problems. Because once you graduate, once you get to the college, you only have a master's option. You cannot just try things. Then you need to make a hard choices. But during colleges, from multiple internship, you can try different. You can see what fits you well and then choose accordingly. So I definitely recommend people to give thesis a try and see how it goes for you.
Yeah, definitely agree. Shashank, you wanna go next?
So I was asking the same question, like how it was different, like working in a research with the professor and the first time in industry. So you already answered.
So based on that, and I have another follow-up question. What would you prefer, or academia, so research, like more R&D stuff, or would you prefer working in industry, and why? Like why would you pick a particular direction?
Yeah, right now, like in this phase of my life, I am preferring corporate, because I am definitely looking forward to a conclusive result. I'm not a person who can wait for years to get a result. I don't have that much patience. And being in corporate, is you can say you can pitch an idea. You have a daily, you have meeting with different people, try to pitching your idea, have a more of you can say interaction with different people, trying to scale up the business, understand pros and cons of each and everything. Here, research you are properly focused on the product. I am more inclined towards a business solution as well. That's my interest.
Yeah, interesting. Shashant, you want to go next? Next question.
No, not right now. I think you can.
Okay, I'll take this.
Sure.
So, Tarun, so do you want to talk about any of your projects which you've done in corporate, any end-to-end project?
Yeah, the fraud detection project is definitely I have spent the most time, and that had been the best project for me so far. So I started my Cars 24 journey in this project. Yeah, so when you go to sell your car, a thorough inspection of your car is happened by a car jockey, which is an employee of Cars 24. So then, post that inspection, auction happens. So there are many dealers that are onboarded on the Cars 24 platform. They bid on that auctions, and there's a sometimes the cars get converted in first auction, sometimes it takes a lot of auction. And after you can say the final deal, we have a deal amount where the dealer is agreeing and the seller is also agreeing for a price. We receive a hit on our fraud API to evaluate whether particular this deal can get cancelled or not. And why it is important is because what happens is that once you can say the deal is confirmed, we take the car from the seller and we make the payment to him. And the dealer takes the car from us after 2-3 days. So the dealer can cancel during these times due to various possible reasons. And even after 2-3 days also, when he takes the car, he can return the car if there is some issues with the car. So if any of these cases happen, the car gets stuck in our inventory because we cannot give that back to the seller. And when we try to liquidate the car, we sometimes we sometimes hit losses in this. Mostly when the deal is a fraudulent one, because the suppose the valuation of the car is 3 lakhs, but the dealer has bid around 4 lakhs or 5 lakhs. Then if we try to liquidate it, would be hard to get the price of 3 lakhs. So these are the you can say generally cases which we term as fraud. So our objective is to find those cases which could result in a net loss to our organization. So this is a brief of the why the fraud model exists here. And how we solve is that after we evaluate from the model, we receive a score from the model, which you can also term as a severity. That the higher the score, the severe chances of losses are. So based on the score cuts of the model, we take different amount of tokens from the dealer. And those dealers are, you can say, non-refundable. So in generally, if there is no token from our fraud model, then the security amount is very less, suppose 5,000, 10,000 rupees. But when we receive through our fraud model, that can go to the 20% or 50% of the car value. And it is a non-refundable. So this helps us mitigate the risk and transfer the risk of that deal cancellation to the dealer. So this is how the fraud model is.
Basically, the token amount is decided by the score. Like higher the score, higher the token.
Yes.
But there will be like this will also drop the conversion.
Yes.
Of the so how we optimizing it like.
Yes, obviously that's the main problem statement here, that you cannot flag all cars, but it's a trade-off between stocking and cancellation. So first of all, how we evaluate is that on each token level, what is the cancellation rate? So that definitely helps that if at a lower token level, the stocking rate is higher. So obviously that's you can say a non-risky segment for us because we are not losing money. But again, at a higher token rate, stocks are lower. But those are the cases which we are okay not procuring because those are very high risk for. So this is the overall idea, and how we decide the numbers is that we have a target metrics from our side also, and we have a hard requirement from business also, that we can flex suppose only 6% of the cars. because we don't want to get more than that. It's a trade-off. Obviously, both business and data science work together, analyze the data that what should be the optimal rate such that the stocking and cancellation are both of them are optimal.
So it like the overall it didn't impacted the revenue, like revenue was the constant here, or what you're approach before?
Yeah, obviously this is the currently fourth version of the fraud model going on. Every time we have improved, like from the in the third version, which was trained by me and my manager. So before that, the cancellation rate used to be around 18%, but after that, we managed to reduce it around 12%, and the margins were also improved. I guess the numbers was around 40,000 per cancelled car loss to around 30,000 per cancelled car. And right now in the newer model, we have reduced the cancellation rate to around 8% with some improvement in margin also. I don't remember. All right.
Oh, interesting.
Can you talk about how this project was deployed?
Yeah, the fraud model currently is deployed on AWS. So we have a Flask API running over there. So it is deployed on a AWS production server, which is managed by a DevOps team. In this project, our objective is just to push a code there and run the API. And obviously, a supervisor is tagged there, which restarts the API every time the server starts.
Got it.
And
Okay.
again, how it is utilized is that the tag team, obviously the website and all the interfaces are managed by tag team. So once this deal is happened, if the deal is triggered, they hit our fraud API to evaluate whether that what should be the token percentage of this, and then they consume response from our end, and then again trigger the tokens and everything to the dealer end.
And I think in this, since this API is used internally only, right? It is not shown to
Yeah.
the user.
Yes.
So I think there must be like no concerns about latency or anything, right?
Not really. Here it is not a concern, and obviously it is the best of much possible. Here in this case, we actually have a lot of data processing happening because obviously we are using a variety of feature which takes data from different cons which are running daily, and we fetch multiple APIs also from that, so they also add some latency to us. And again, we have a decent latency for it, which is not really impactful. That even if the API response time would have been double, it had been no concern for us. So it depends on the use cases that where it is critical, then the optimization is done accordingly. Yeah, I was saying that in general, even if whatever the requirement is, your code should be optimal because like there are sometimes unnecessary code, unnecessary function calling, which adds to the latency, which is not really required, which are you can say redundant in the. So a good style of coding should be to keep the code optimized irrespective of the use case.
Okay.
Got it.
So after every new order, your API will get hit, or you have some lag of it. Like after 15 minutes, there is a chunk of like a batch of it
No, it's
data will
individual
come, and then
for each transaction.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
What I understood is the model is trained once,
Yeah.
and inferencing is on the new data.
Yes.
So, and that data might be out of distribution from the training data also,
Yes.
and that will lead to a very different result than the training data.
Yes. So over the years, like suppose after 1 year, since that data would have taken a drift, so our prediction might not be as expected because the model has learned on a year back data. So then we need to retrain our.
Okay.
Wouldn't that affect like decision makings? Because then, let's say a 6 months to a year, you're not training on new data, but we are relying like the data has been drifted or deviated from what it's supposed to do, right? Because it's a different distribution. So wouldn't that affect like decision making, or why did you guys decide to do it that way?
So
and
again,
also in case of fraud, like the changes in fraud are very frequent. So people find different type of fraud. So yeah, maybe.
yeah. So when we talk about the model, it's like every time we are retraining, we try to incorporate all those new fraudulent patterns which we have found. But obviously, which are, you can say, very critical, we add them as a rule flag. Like as and when they come, we add them as rule flag because we don't want to procure those cars, or like those are independent of the model out. We know this is a fraudulent case, so let's flag it directly. So obviously, you cannot train a model daily. Might be possible in a few cases, but not in this, definitely.
Got it. So,
And just to understand the scale, just before you move on to the next question, actually, so just to understand the scale of the data, I mean, again, this goes back to why you can't train the data, why you can't train it daily. How big or how large is your data?
Yeah, the data is, you can say, not obviously not. It's not impossible to train, but the data size was around, I guess, 2 lakhs rows versus around 1,000 features or something like that. So it's obviously possible to train, but it's not recommended because you need to be sure that what your model is doing. So once we train a model, we evaluate it thoroughly. We try to understand what is the impact, because when you are making a change in something, you need to show business that what would be the expected outcome of this. So when we trained a new model, we compared that, okay, as compared to the previous model, it will capture these many cancellations. It will reduce the losses by this many numbers. So those numbers we need to take alignment from business, from many other stakeholders. So that exercise cannot be done daily. And obviously, when you are training a good model and when you are refreshing the data daily, your model is not going to be changed significantly within, you can say, 1 week or 1 month. It takes a long time to get that data.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I should. Sorry, you can go ahead. Next one.
So coming back to like going away from your projects and coming back to your job, can you tell us about like how how do you crack an off-campus job? Like how did you crack it back then, and how can people crack it right now?
So during that time, it was a COVID time, and it was, you can say, a year of COVID time because it was during 2020. So at that time, market definitely was, oh, it was not that hard. But again, being a fresher, it's really challenge to get into data science. Because data science, again, as you told about, it's a critical aspect because the business is relying on your predictions. What predictions you make, the business decisions and the business outcomes are very much dependent on. So it's a bit hard for a fresher, unless, and if you have projects through college or through internships, that definitely makes it a bit easier to get in a data science job as a fresher. Same was the case for me. Like even I had a few internships and projects during that time. And regarding how to prepare is the ML or algorithms is definitely the first thing which is being evaluated and tell you that how familiar with are you with the ML algorithm and the pros and cons of them. And then the projects are also important because you need to understand the problem as compared to the, I'm not very sure about the development side, but in development side, they will it on your DSA, your coding skill. But in data science, I believe that problem solving, business problem solving, to be honest, is more important part.
And anything that you think has changed from the COVID time, that is 2020 till 2024? Like, is there anything different that someone should do right now to get an off-campus job, right out of college?
So right now, the COVID boom is definitely not there. Rather, it's a layoff market right now where even the experienced people are finding it difficult to get a job. So for a fresher, obviously, if you can crack, that's great. If you are finding it hard, then go for an internship. Like, let's not just stop there. Get, start learning, start working on projects from wherever you can. Either through Kaggle, you can try working on projects, getting unpaid internship, remote internship in office, whatever you are comfortable with. Just keep going and keep trying because the opportunity will definitely come, maybe now or later. But you should just keep improving your profile so that it gets easy whenever the opportunity comes.
Uh, have you ever faced DSA questions in data science interviews?
Like very rare. I won't say that yes is a part of data science interview. Maybe sometime one of the cases they might ask. but the focus should be ML algorithms.
Do you ask DSA questions at your company?
I haven't taken any interview there.
Okay.
But when obviously when you are talking about DSA, you should know basic coding. Like you can say, like even when you are talking about interviews, the questions like string, loops, these questions are definitely asked. So you need to go in deep, like you can say graph, trees, and or dynamic programming and all stuff. But you should be basic familiar that how to solve a coding question, because that's how someone's Python skill and other things are also evaluated. Because you are being provided with a new problem statement, which is not that easy to solve. So you should be aware of the basic algorithm problem and how you can efficiently solve them with you can say least space complexity and time complexity.
Got it.
So I have a next question actually on that end. So so you talked about how people should prepare for it, right? But the other side of this thing is, and again, I think I mentioned this to you on the chat as well, then also when I was talking with Swapnesh, um, how good you are at documenting things about your journey, right? And this really helps when it comes to interviews. We all know that people should follow a STAR approach when it comes to answering questions in the interviews, right? But people don't document their work and what they have done. Let's say you have 3 years of experience, 4 years of experience. You have done so many things in that 3, 4 years, so many projects in those 3, 4 years. But we never reflect on that, and we never write it down, right? And in that process, we forget things like, oh, this was a particular time that I ran into a challenge, and this is how I resolved it. Now that when people ask you in the interviews, those kind of questions and those kind of scenarios will help people a lot to answer it. But because you didn't document it, you forgot about it, you just don't want to remember it at the time of interview. But I saw that you document really well those things. So how important is it to document your journey, your life's journey? There. Okay, let me know if you guys can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the document that I'm talking about, where Tarun has been writing about his journey and the work journey plus the experience and all that stuff, right? So this is where actually I read through it and formulated a lot of questions, and this is why I got really interested to have him on the podcast and talk about it. As you can see, he's been writing about how to prepare for data science career. He's documenting about how to get projects, internships, how did he manage to get it, and what all he did during that internship, or even the current job that he's working at. So tell us about this, and how people should do it and why people should do this.
The documentation, obviously, when I did, it was for my juniors, where they were asking regularly for advice that how should I join the data science career, what data science is all about. So obviously difficult to give time to everyone. So I prepared a doc to share with them. So that was my idea at that time. And it obviously helps because this is more of different than what you told. That to document what are the uh, challenges you faced and all in a project. This is more about the career road. That how to get into career, how to be aligned with the data science interest to understand what data science is all about. So that's the basic idea. When you are talking about projects, I document them on my website. So in website, because in resume you cannot cover everything. First of all, you should be thorough with your resume. But again, there are many points which you miss on the resume. So I have documented them on my website. So that in website, if you see, you will find a detailed multiple paragraphs which explain the projects in them. So that's the main idea.
Yeah, I'll share his website as well, just so that people can see the portfolio and the juniors who would like to get into get jobs and internships and all that stuff. Why having a portfolio it's sort of important, right? So this is a portfolio, and again, it's well showcased here. I actually went through it too, and I really enjoyed reading about stuff here too. About the main thing is whenever you do a project, whenever you talk about a project, having that clarity on okay, what is the objective, what is the goal, right? What is what is a workflow mechanism for it? How do you go about the development process, and then what is the scope for it? So having that understanding, not just on the technical side, but also on the business side of things, like, okay, why are we doing this project? How would it impact the business? What value does it bring to the business, right? So I really kind of liked it, and I think people should focus more on presenting it this way, right? Even in the interviews, um, it's much more clear, and I think makes the interviewer's life easy to understand. Yeah. So
Even
yeah, thanks.
my idea behind this website was, so I developed the first version of the website during, I guess when I started for job search and all. So at that time I was familiar with HTML, CSS and this stuff. So I developed using that. Now last year I started learning React, so
Mhm.
which again helps us develop this front end efficiently. And again,
Mhm.
what could be the better place other than my own website? So I
Mhm.
developed my website again from scratch using React.js and
Mhm.
improved. And the new interface is much improved than the previous.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, no,
And
it's good. It's good to have that, right? And also, taking this to a next level, like you said, your doc is for about career, but you could take it down to a next level where you can talk about your projects, but something which you cannot talk about on the website, like something you have it in mind and you want to lay it out in a messy way, write it out in a messy way, the challenges and all that stuff. Yeah, on the website, it would be messy, it won't be professional. But if you have a doc, something like this, you can actually write it down, put your thoughts in the document. So it's just taking this level at next level, right? So it's a good initiative. I think something that I should do it myself. Because I know, like, companies like Facebook, Amazon, those, they drill you a lot on um, what kind of interview it is. I forgot the name for it, but it's more on those kind of things, right? Okay, tell me a scenario where a scenario based questions, right? Tell me a scenario where you encountered a conflict, let's say with your colleagues. How did you go about resolving it? Right. So those kind of scenarios, it's hard to answer because you encounter it, but you never thought about it until you got asked in the interview. So yeah, no, thanks for the dog for sharing with me. Really kind of inspired me, and also your portfolio. Um, cool. So moving on to next question. Um, so last week, we actually spoke with Shopnes, who is a senior machine learning engineer at Cars 24. We had an interesting conversation about, what they do as a ML, the ML side of things at Cars 24. So from you, I'd like to understand the flow, right, from data scientist to ML, um, and the responsibilities. So where is that barrier between, data scientist and an ML engineer? And how do you guys work, hand in hand together? And the kind of tech stack. Let's also focus on the tech stack that you guys use. We already talked about the tech stack for ML, but for data scientists, what is the tech stack that you used on day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so if I talk about the tech stack, it's basically Python and SQL for most of our days. When we talk about Python, it comes everything like from, you should know API hosting also, and all the libraries of the Python you should be familiar to be able to handle data. And when I talk about as a full stack data science, if I talk about, then you should be familiar with fetching data from DB till deployment. So when we talk about fetching DB, so we have data in Snowflake. So we use queries, fetch data from that, and we load them in Python data frames before we proceed for further analysis. So we have a different business intelligence team who help us with those queries, who have a for understanding of different tables and what you can say, what are the loopholes, what are the issues in the table and how to handle them. We have a dedicated PI team, but again, once you have that clarity, you should be independently able to fetch those data and make those handling accordingly, because there should not be any dependencies, because otherwise those dependencies turn out to be a blocker in the later stage. So, and when I talk about the different part, the ML ops part, so once we have trained our model, we have made our APIs and everything, we deployed on Google Cloud Platform through the help of ML ops. So ML ops team is actually working on the maintenance of that Google Cloud to keep the servers always on, to ensure there's no lag, there's no latency, to optimize the cost of the server, because there are many production models running there. So our interaction with ML ops side is that for a deployment, but their job totally is to handle all the production deployment, ensure stability, cost optimization, and you can say there are multiple dependencies also with the production. Like we have run Cloud Run, we have Feast APIs, we have multiple other dependencies, which all are being handled by MLOps. So even for a Cloud Run, we build the code, but the deployment of that and the scheduling of those Cloud Run and everything is done by MLOps.
Got it. So it's at the last stage is basically the stage of deployment where a data scientist creates the endpoints for the APIs, and that's where basically the data scientist role stops, right? So got it. Okay. So I'm not gonna talk more into that side because we already spoke about the MLOps stuff last weekend. So let's go back to your college and the interview processes and all that stuff, because we want to target more the juniors and freshers who want to get into the field, right? Especially at companies like Card24, which I recommend a lot of people, right? So how much does your college brand matters when it comes to planning a job in industry?
It does matters a lot, especially as a fresher, because at that time that's the, you can say, most important thing you have on your profile. But again, when you are talking about the tier 2 or tier 3 colleges, it's not that difficult, because again, as I told, that if you are not getting a job, try with internships. Build your profile even better, because again, that tag just helps, but your profile actually pitches the hiring manager to hire you. So the profile is more important. Yes, but you can say, when we talk about, you can say assign points to everything. Projects at some points, degrees at some point, college at some point. So you might miss out on the degree points or the college points, but you should like get full on your projects. That's what I believe.
And is it a good thing that your life depends on what college you graduated from? Like people basically judge you based on what college you graduated from, and no matter, let's say you're a fresher, I'm a fresher. It's just that I ended up in going to not very popular college versus you graduated from a popular college. But let's say I have more experience and knowledge in terms of throughout my studies, I did a lot of activities on the side, but let's say you didn't do it, right? But just because of the brand, you ended up getting hired. Is that a bad thing or a good thing? What do you think? What should change?
It depends. We really can't blame the companies for that, because, but I believe even from the tier 1 colleges, you have a lot of candidates. So if you keep applications from all the type of colleges, you would, it would be a lot of applications which are hard to send a shortlist. Suppose if you get a limited application from tier 1 college also, there's a very high chance that you will get a relevant candidate in that itself. So the companies also need to optimize their hiring cost and everything, the cost evolving around that in the even time also. So it's just a, you can say, cutoff. Like when we talk about the CGPA and everything, that cutoff mark is everywhere. Even for the 10th and 12th marks, it's there. That you need to get minimum this percentage of marks, because there are other people who are better at some other stuff. But again, those people are there above 85 also. So it's about optimization, that how you pitch better. But again, if your profile is good, if you are pitching yourself well, then I don't think it should be that much trouble for other colleges also.
Any follow-up questions on this, Ashit or Shashant?
No.
No. Okay, you guys are good with this. So yeah, tell us about so now coming back to Cars24, right? Like I said, I recommend a lot of people to go and apply at Cars24. So let's talk about the interview process at Cars24. So how's the interview, how was the interview process back when you applied versus how's the interview process now? Also given, few years ago, Cost 24 was a startup. And again, I guess it's still a startup, but it's grown, right? It's grown to next level. Now you guys have gone abroad too, right? So you guys are in Australia. So tell us about the process, what it looks
Yeah, so during my time when I applied, obviously as a fresher, your expectations are slightly lower from your interviews. But during that time, I was first given an assignment to work on. And then there was an interview round where we discussed about those assignments, how I approach the problem solving and why I choose particular algorithms or other function to solve this problem. And then there was a round with a you can say hiring manager, you can call it, who was the head of the data science. So there it was a more of a you can say cultural round sort of that why I want to join Cast or how had been my journey in data science and why I am interested in this field. And so during that time there was only these rounds. Right now I'm not really very sure about the interview process. I
like.
won't be able to comment on.
So in terms of the assignment, right, if I may, what sort of assignment was it? Like, did you have to build an ML model, or what was the assignment about?
Yeah, so this assignment, or you can say any other industry assignment also, they generally give you a sample data which is uh, which is close to the kind of projects they are working on. So at that time, I was given some pricing project, which is again the core project of card. So I was given a particular card data which have make, model, tool type, and other features like that, and I had to predict the price. So that was the model and that was the objective. I'm not really sure how I approach that assignment at that time. But again, these are very simple assignments. So when you are talking about assignment, the job is not just to you can say solve the problem. It's about how you approach them. And when you are training a model, not you should not focus on improving the accuracy of the model. Like okay, it's like the minor improvement I'm talking about, not about that from 20% to 60% that you need to definitely do. But obviously, when you have a 80%, you don't need to push it to 90% or something like that. But rather, you can try another algorithms to showcase your strength that you are familiar with multiple algorithms and you can use whichever is required in different cases. So the understanding the data in EDA is the first part when you should do when you are solving the data synthesis. So the step would be the understanding the problem, that what you want to do here, the EDA, the feature engineering, and the model training, and then evaluating the model. That is how is the model performing, and are the model prediction in line with the expected values or not.
Yeah, yeah. That was my next question as to what. So when people do assignments, what should be their more main focus? Like you said, it's the goal is not to get the best results, but rather the goal is uh, to to see how you the process of attempting how to attempt the problem in hand, and also trying out different algorithms. But um, I think it's also about how do you document well the process of what you did. How did you try out different algorithms? How do you decide on which one to pick out of those 3-4 algorithms that you tried? What is the last one that you pick, and so on, right? So um, did you in terms of the coding approach, how did you do it? Did you do it in sort of, let's say, a Jupyter notebook? Did you write modular code, or what was your way of presenting it?
Yeah, Jupyter Notebook is the primary thing which we use in data science. So I did in that only, and whenever you are submitting the assignment, you can submit that IPY-NV notebooks to the person.
Okay. Questions?
All right. So I think uh, any last tips for freshers or even people who are looking to switch jobs as data scientists? Like any last tips for them?
I believe you should definitely have some few projects on your profile before applying for even data science job, because you should be familiar what data science is about. Because just jumping, because there are many people which are just fascinated by AI and all, but when they come to corporate, they realize that it's not just models. but you need to deal with end-to-end data pipeline, and modeling is just a, you can say, small part of it. So it's important to get hands-on projects before getting fully switched into data science career. And in terms of pressure, try getting college projects because that definitely helps you understand the field as well as build your profile, build your resume, which is important to get job as a fresher, which it definitely helps you being distinguished from the other candidates.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Any questions, Mithul, Sushant?
I think I don't have any questions, and I think, yeah, we are 1 hour, so we are on time. Any questions, Sushant, before we wrap this up?
No, 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 no,
No?
no, not from my end. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Any questions for us, Tarun?
Maybe I guess you would have already been talking about another interview also, but for the audience, you can tell about that. What is your objective regarding this podcast series?
This podcast series. Yeah, so the goal of the podcast was to help people understand the different roles that are out there. People are not especially freshers because there's so many different roles in data scientist, data analyst, business intelligence, right? Machine learning engineer. Then there's DevOps, MLOps engineers. Distinguish between the different roles and people working in different domains, what they exactly do, right? Um, like up until last weekend, we didn't have anyone from ML engineer. So, like, we didn't know much about what ML engineers do. And I mean, we know ourselves what ML engineers do, but not into that greater detail, right? And, talking with Swapnesh, we learned a lot about what ML engineers do. And they're kind of required skills. It's very different than data scientists, right? So all of those things, if we work in industry, if we don't understand those differences, how do you expect freshers to know the differences? Right? These are not taught in school. So the goal of podcast was to get that information across to them about different roles, about different industries. Data science, data is everywhere in all the company, all the different domains, right? So what are the different use cases, right, in different organizations, and how they solve them, right? So people want to apply at Cars 24, what is it that Cars 24 do? What kind of problem they tackle, right? Then they can build portfolios surrounding that if they're interested in applying at Cars 24, right? So the goal is to teach them for free, right? Um, and help them in their journey of data, right? So that's a basic goal of doing this series of podcasts and having this connection with people in industry. So if tomorrow, let's say Cost 24 hiring, I know who to reach out to for information, right? Um, and if the people are nice, they'll reach back and they'll be like, okay, here's what it is, and you can provide reference and less of, right? Just helping out the community. That's it.
Yeah, just to
Hopefully.
add on that, when we are talking about AI boom and everything, it's not about boom, it's a revolution which is coming. As we already said that data is the new oil. That oil helped us develop many new things, engines and everything. Now it's data which is actually leading to another revolution.
Yeah.
That's that I Because of that I believe that data science definitely has a lot of growth potential.
Yeah, true. And that the trends change, right? That's another thing which is important, right? Back when I was fresher, or when you guys were fresher, data science was a hot topic. Now it's like MLOps, generative AI, those are hot
Yeah,
topics, right? And the freshers who come out, they were like, okay, generative AI, let's jump on that.
yeah,
But people forget about the other stuff. And then if that trend falls down, then you're like, okay, I'm jobless because I don't know anything else other than generative AI. So now you're like, you go back to the starting point, right? So just getting them, across, okay, what all things that you should focus on, right? Don't just directly jump onto the trend. Also understand the things which are important. Right? And generative AI, all that stuff, it's a hype. It's good to have a knowledge, but the other stuff is important too. You don't jump to a fourth year degree. You go through first year, second year, third year before you go on to fourth year. So it's important to have all of that foundations. Yeah. Cool, that makes sense. Okay, well, thank you, Tarun, for your time and for being on the podcast. We were trying to arrange this for a long time as from someone from Cost 24, and yeah, it's a pleasure to have you, and we had a pleasure of learning a lot from you. So thanks for your time.
It
Yeah,
definitely was a great time. Thank you for providing me the opportunity.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, okay.
Thanks,
All right.
Tarun.
See you guys. Have a good night.
Yeah.